Heading into the 2010 World Cup, Spain were not widely considered as one of the top favourites to win the competition. However, under the guidance of Vicente del Bosque, Spain managed to defy expectations. Despite an unexpected loss in their opening match against Switzerland, they rallied to win all their remaining games, ultimately lifting the trophy with their beautiful football. Here's an in-depth look at how Spain set up under Vicente del Bosque during the 2010 FIFA World Cup. In 2008, Spain went on to lift the Euros trophy, ultimately playing some fantastic football, but in a 4-4-2 formation under Luis Aragonés. Under the likes of Vicente del Bosque, they ended up changing their formation and style of play to fit the team that they had at their disposal, switching from a 4-4-2 to a 4-2-3-1 system. The new system was key to ultimately helping Spain lift the World Cup trophy, having three midfield maestros in the central areas of the park at all times in Xavi Alonso, as well as Sergio Busquets, controlling the pace of play and looking to try and dictate the tempo in the various different games. Taking a look at the Vicente del Bosque tactical setup, starting off with the defense and the defensive style, which would be set to pressure on heavy touch. This strategy had the Spanish side pressing sporadically higher up the field while still maintaining its defensive shape and structure, making it very hard for the opposition to go ahead and break them down. They would look to capitalize on any mistakes that the opposition went ahead and made, whether it was a heavy touch or a loose pass, and therefore they would look to capitalize on that mistake and look to turn it into a counter-attacking opportunity. The team's defensive width is set to 50, creating a balanced defensive structure, allowing them to protect the flank regions from those dangerous crossing opportunities while still being able to man-mark in the central zones. The depth of the Spanish side was set to 70. Now this would help with the in-game management, allowing them to be very aggressive with their ball retention, whilst also allowing them to have a bit more caution and not overcommit too many players higher up the field. Now taking a look at the offense of the 2010 World Cup winners, the build-up play was set to slow build-up. Spain would look to construct their attacks methodically, playing out from the back, focusing on ball rotations and off-the-ball movements. The chance creation for the side should be set to possession, as Spain during the 2010 World Cup on average maintained around 59% possession. The midfield was key to this, as well as the likes of Iniesta drifting more centrally and looking to help create those overloads in those central zones, also creating intricate passing patterns of play, looking to combine very effectively with the roles of Xavi Alonso, and of course Sergio Busquets. A hallmark to Spain's play during that time and that period was the fact that they were so good at being able to be in very tight areas and be able to still play through the opposition's defensive outlets, looking to more or less create those good 5-yard passages of play where they would look to pass and move consistently in those central zones, in those tight confined areas. So in order to replicate that very effectively, the width of the side should be set to 15. The players in the box is set to 4, and more so Spain would look to create their attacking outlets on the edge of the area and then work their way into the box, although the striker was always in and around the attacking area waiting for the cross or the cutback, so you would want to more or less commit at least 2 players into those attacking zones. And then finally, the corners and the free kicks will be set to 4. Taking a look at the individual player instructions, starting off at the back between the sticks, and that was Iker Casillas at that time, and he would be set to come for crosses and maintain a balanced approach for saving outside of the box. More so, Casillas was very involved in the first phase of the build-up, looking to play those short passes either into the centre-backs or into the midfield zones. Onto the role of the 2 centre-backs, and at that time it was the likes of Gerard Piqué as well as Carlos Puyol, and as you can see, both of them are set to the base set of instructions. No major changes or requirements needed, but they would be instructed to be very calm and composed on the ball, and that is because they were very important in that first phase build-up in order to establish that offensive platform for Spain to go ahead and build up off of. For the role of your 2 fullbacks, now on the right-hand side, we had a very young, assertive Sergio Ramos, and he would be allowed to bomb forward and join the attacks and be very involved in the attacking outlets down the right-hand side. He would also have aggressive interceptions, more or less fostering that aggressive mentality that Ramos has had throughout the entirety of his career, but you also want him overlapping, consistently running down the wing, looking to more or less operate in that wider right channel, and then of course you want him to be able to step up. Whereas the likes of the left back in Caps de Villa, he was aging at that time, so he didn't really have the legs to bomb forward all the time as well as work his way back and help defend. So he would often, very often in fact, stay back and more or less form a kind of a back 3 type system. So in order to replicate his role, you'd want him to stay back while attacking, have a mixed run type, have normal interceptions, and then of course stick to position. Now this will more or less maintain that 3rd type centre back role for him and allow him to more or less manage that defensive area as that more defensive left back. The role of both Xabi Alonso as well as the likes of Busquets were very important to the success of the side. They would be instructed to try and break up the midfield play from the opposition, as well as look to drop a bit deeper and get on the ball as much as they possibly could, being very important as well in that first phase build-up play. So both of them are set to the same set of instructions, looking to have a bit more of a zonal approach to their defensive outlet, looking just to sweep up and shield that back four area. So both of them would be set to cut passing lanes, maintain a stay back while attacking approach, but every now and then you did see at least one of them venture further forward, and that was more so the likes of Xabi Alonso, sometimes getting a bit high up the field and being a bit more involved in the build-up play. But you want to have this defensive awareness to both of them, so you want them to be able to both stay back. Normal interceptions is set to be on for both, as well as being the deep lying playmaker and cover the wider areas. As you'll see here for the role of the right DM, of course, that was Sergio Busquets. He's got the same role and instructions, looking to be very important in breaking up the play in those central zones. Despite Xavi being deployed in a more advanced position, he was very heavily involved in dictating the tempo of the game. He would often look to drop a bit deeper and create those passing sequences with the defensive midfielders, as well as facilitate the play all over the field. In order to replicate his role very effectively, he would be set to come back on defense, and this will help him drop a bit deeper at times and look to, interchange passes with the other midfielders, as well as stay on the edge of the box. Now, every now and then you do see him work his way into the box, which is quite nice, especially with the fact that the players in the box is set to 4. So he will be one of those players on the odd occasion getting into those more advanced attacking zones. He would also be set to free roaming role. You want him to be able to drift all over the place. And then, of course, conservative interceptions, not really known for his defensive abilities or his pressing intake on the opposition. The role of Andreas Iniesta was to drift inside a bit more from that right-hand side, looking to pull players out of position, vacating that wider right channel for the on-running Sergio Ramos. He would often look to drift a bit more centrally, looking to combine with the other midfielders. And in order to replicate his role, he'd be set to having a basic defensive support, whilst also looking to cut inside and come short. Now, this will help him quite often drift more centrally and combine with the number 10 and, of course, the two defensive midfielders. He'd also be set to normal interceptions, and you do want him occasionally making those attacking runs into the box, whilst also on the odd occasion as well, staying on the edge of the area and looking to rotate the pace of play. Now, onto the role of your left midfielder. Initially, it was the likes of David Villa, but then that did create a few spacing issues, especially with the fact that the left back would not always be able to get forward. The likes of Villa was seen as more of a inside forward that would look to drift into those more central zones, a bit more of a direct attacking force. And that, like I say, did create a lot of spacing issues down the left-hand side. So the likes of Pedro was deployed in that wider left space, and this would allow him to hug the touchline and create a lot more space and balance out the attacking outlets. So in order to replicate his role very effectively, he would always be told to come back and help back with the left back, looking to always drop a bit deeper and support the defensive structure. He'd also be told to stay wide, looking to generate a lot more space down the left-hand side, and of course provide a lot of the width. And at the same time, the support runs is set to balance. He could look to break in behind and use his pace, because at that time, if I'm not mistaken, like Pedro was in his 20s, early 20s. I'm not exactly sure of the age, but he was very youthful, very, organized with the ability to run in behind, use his pace, use his youthfulness to the Spanish side's advantage. But at the same time, just like with the right midfielder, he could choose to drift a bit more centrally and combine with the other midfielders. So that is exactly why I've set this to support the support runs to balanced. And then, of course, just like with the right-hand side as well, you want him to have normal interceptions and then maintain a balanced crossing run. And then finally, onto the role of the striker. Both Fernando Torres as well as David Villa were deployed in this position, and they both had very similar roles and styles of play. They would always be on the move. They would always be involved in the attacking phases of play, looking to be a threat in behind the opposition's backline, especially if the opposition were pushing higher up the field. The striker would always look to be playing on the shoulder, you could say, of the opposition's backline, always looking to pose that threat in behind. So you want them to be able to generate a lot of movement, and in terms of that, it will also create a lot of space in the central zones and allow your players to go ahead and attack that. So you want them to be able to drift wide and have a mixed attack, allowing them to sometimes play as a false nine, or, like I say, play as that getting behind target man type player. The interception should be set to aggressive, as you want your striker closing down the opposition centre backs or even the goalkeeper, forcing a few errors and mistakes at the back. And then as well, you want them to have a basic defensive support. And there we go, my dudes. That is how I would implement and replicate the 2010 World Cup winning Spain tactics into FC24. I do think that they translate very, very well into the game. In fact, the rating out of 10 that I would give the system would be a 10. They work so well. The off-the-ball movements, the rotations, the control that you do possess in the games. It's absolutely elite, electric. I really do enjoy playing this type of football. And you will see a trend and a pattern to my rankings. When there's lots of control and there's lots of movements, I tend to, give them high scores. But we will be doing more of this in the future over the next month or so. Of course, there's the Euros, there's the Copa America. So we will be diving into the more international scene of football, looking to replicate and recreate various different international tactics for FC24. Now, If you guys don't mind smashing that like button, subscribing if you are new, and all that good stuff. And don't forget to comment down below who you would like to potentially go ahead and see next, as well as the ranking and rating for the system. Anyways, until the next one, until the next time, I hope you guys have a damn great day, and I'm out of here.